Hello and welcome to all of you to this panel on reimagining ports, which is like AI-powered ports, reimagining efficiency of the ports and how these things are going to change in these times. I know, we are standing at a place where we are in between the AI and I would say human technology or human imagination. So we are talking about AI, but we are stuck in this whole jam and the chaos because of the kind of things which we are working around. So I sincerely thank you all for bearing with us, and particularly our panelists who have taken time out and then who have come somehow reached on time, and people who could not. I think it was also not in their own control. The things are really chaotic at this moment. But thank you so much. I must thank the Chidambaranar Port Authority to convene this session. And I am with the IGPP. I am Director of Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics. And we work around the tech policy space with the port also. So that is first thing. Second thing is I must welcome the panelists who are here. We have Shri T.K. Ramchandranji, former Secretary Shipping, and he has been kind enough to be here much before time. And he listened to our previous session also, and I sincerely thank sir for kind of, to come to this event and would be contributing his valuable thoughts for this. We have Shri Subrat Tripathi ji, who is the advisor with the Adani Ports and has been in this industry for a long time and has been a mentor to us for this session and overall on our policy space. We have Ms. Aparajita Rana, who is partner with the it's AZB Partners. She is an advocate working in this space. And we have Mr. Manish Jaiswal, who is heading the IT for the JM Baxi Ports. Along with them, we will be having Shri Gaurav Vallabh Sharma, who is the advisor to the PM Economic Council. And Mr. Purohit has just entered in time, and welcome, sir. And you straight away, you straight away have to come to the podium to deliver your welcome remarks and set the context. And then we will take it forward from here. Thank you so much, sir.
Good morning, one and all. Good morning to our distinguished guests, esteemed policymakers, leaders of the maritime industry. It's my proud privilege to welcome you to this vital panel discussion, AI-powered ports, reimagining efficiency and operations, organized by our port, Chidambaranar Port Authority, in collaboration with, of course, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, that is IGPP. In a world of supply chain disruptions, ports are no longer just standalone logistics assets. They are central to nation's economic resilience and industrial competitiveness. To realize our Honorable Prime Minister's Sri Narendra Modi's vision for world-class, future-ready infrastructure, our maritime sector undergoes structural evolution. We are modernizing at historic speeds, but physical infrastructure alone is no longer enough. Just last week, on February 9th, Chidambaranar Port convened a pre-event at Tuticorin, where we brought together tech innovators, our port administrators, to stress test our digital readiness. The consensus was clear. The appetite for transformation is strong, but we need decisive national direction. That is why we are here today. Our mandate is to recognize that artificial intelligence is not simply a software upgrade, a dashboard, or a new set of sensors. It is a profound governance and decision-making capability. To guide us through this paradigm shift and to explore how AI can facilitate faster trade, environmental sustainability, and workforce adaptation, we are joined by an extraordinary panel today. Dr. Gaurav Ballabh, sir is expecting. Yeah. Dr. Gaurav Ballabh, Member Economic Advisory Council to Honorable Prime Minister. Sri T.K. Ramachandran, sir, our former Secretary, Ministry Port Shipping and Waterways. Mr. Subhati Bhatti, sir, President, Business Development, APSCZ Limited. Mr. Manish Jaswal, Chief Technology Officer of JM Baxi Group, and Madam Aparajita Rana, Partner AZB and Partners. Our objective for the next 45 minutes is to establish a clear national narrative on AI's role in maritime governance, ensuring we contribute to forward-looking policy design rather than mere technological compliance. I extend my deepest gratitude to our eminent speakers for joining us. I will now hand over the floor to our moderator, Dr. Manish Tiwari, Director IGPP, to steer this vital conversation. Thank you, and I look forward to the brilliant ideas that will emerge today. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Because of the last minute changes in our schedule and, like we say, arrivals, I would like to kind of, that we have around 30 minutes with us, minimum, which we can extend maybe by 5 minutes at the most probably. So I would first want to kind of, just want all the speakers to put in their perspective about two particular things, the topic which we are dealing with, how this efficiency of ports, we have Professor Gaurav Vallabh Agrawal also, Gaurav Vallabh Sharma ji. So please. So the digital readiness and the AI's capacity or AI's possibilities to make change in trade, and how do we conceive the changes for the port operations, that is a major question we are dealing with today. And this question is also important for two reasons, because the change in this at this point of time in terms of the technology is also as important because of its human factor involved. So I would like to begin with Sir T.K. Ramachandran ji to kind of put in his remarks on this subject for maybe in 3 minutes, maybe in the beginning. Please, sir.
So anyway, since the time is short, just like to say that firstly let me thank VOC Port for this opportunity, though I think now we have gone down by I think half the time. Waves are not new to ports, right? What is a wave to a port? So this is a new wave, the AI wave, and it'll take the wave in its stride. Now, for the AI wave to succeed, there has to be something already existent. You need digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, and you need data infrastructure, and you need a set of operationally viable software packages already in place. Without all this, you can't have AI built on this. Now, Manish Tiwari ji told me that you must talk of what already has happened in this sphere, and therefore I will touch upon some of them, because in the last few years, a lot of developments have happened in this sphere. just doing things manually on paper is not going to help AI. You need things to be converted to the digital sphere. And unless you do that, the next layer is not going to happen. But even there, as long as you have silos, software working in their respective silos, where there is no data integration, where there are no common frameworks, common standards, there is no interoperability, and so on, it's not going to be possible to build an AI layer. Therefore, these projects which have already been implemented, like many of you might be aware of these projects, the enterprise business system in some half a dozen ports, the NLP Marine, the Sagar Setu, the E-Samudra in the DGS office, and most important, these are all the software aspects of it, but the one nation, one port process is very important. Most people don't understand that unless the process is common, it is standardized, you cannot have a layer of AI built on top. Now, one nation, one process, which was launched last year, sometime in March, we just looked at the documents. You'll be flabbergasted to know that not less than 800 different documents in each port, in different ports. That is the sum total of all the documents. So when we looked at what was redundant, what had to be taken out, then we came to a core of about 200 documents, and this one, and then the process, different processes, customs, health, and of course port processes, different processes. Now again, when we standardized them, brought them to one core set of processes, we found that just about 50-60 processes that we could identify and which could become the core. So this process standardization, document standardization, and building the layer on AI layer on top is how we should be proceeding. Now, what are the areas in which we can do AI? Of course, whether it is operations or environment or planning. Planning is very important. Predictive planning, very important. Like you have just-in-time systems. All this can happen. You can do monitoring, and of course, safety, compliance, those kind of things. Now, there are a lot of challenges. I'm just rushing through this because there's not much time. There will be a lot of challenges. Now, like I said, multiple silos. You'll have to integrate all of them. So there is data fragmentation. You'll need to have repositories, data repositories which are common. Then there is vendor lock-in. You have certain vendors doing certain things. You'll have to ensure that each vendor, maybe we should shift to open source so that vendor lock-in is prevented. Then the SOPs, the process, like I said, the integration of IT with the physical process, that is important. And standardization of those operations. And at present, you're just using AI as an advisory kind of, it has an advisory kind of role, and you need to take it to a much more operationally integrated role so that it can actually take part in decision making, delivering decisions as opposed to just giving you data. And then accountability. Where will you fix accountability once AI starts taking decisions? And where is the capacity? Are you looking at HR capacity to deliver all this? And finally, like I said, shared framework, a common integrated framework to deliver all of this. So the other portion that we were looking at was smart ports versus thinking ports. Just a few points for takeaways. In this smart port that we already have in a lot of in the realm of the major ports at least, we are talking of tech-led development, tech-led operations. But in AI ports, thinking port, you will have what is called a decision-led operations. Then you have a focus on automation that has to shift to judgment. Similarly, real time, everything is now happening real time. So from real time visibility, you need to become anticipatory. You need to look at predictive visibility. Silo-based systems, you need to have system-wide, across system, frameworks. Then instead of being reactive, you need to become predictive. You need to be able to plan. And instead of being repetitive, a present-day operation, you get some data from some system. It's all repetitive. So from that, you need to shift to a system which learns. So AI is not just about adding more technology, it is about embedding that technology in decision systems. What will happen? What should we do? What is the right choice? Those kind of things. Now, for instance, you might be doing a lot of things. Even berthing happens in ports using AI. Automation, there are AGVs, there are drones. All that technology is there. But putting it all together, ensuring that you are able to put this data together so that you can plan for the future, predict the future, analyze the future, and give you choices, decision choices. I think that is going to be the challenge, and that is going to be the thinking port of the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you have very precisely and very beautifully carved out the challenges we are facing and also the kind of issues we have to tackle in the near future around and what exactly has been happening. So what has happened, you have explained very well, and I would like to request Shri Subrat Tripathi to let us know what exactly how these challenges have been, I would say, been met in this space, because he is heading something where they have large number of these operations over there. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish ji. I think after Sri Ramchandran has spoken, that's really not much to add. So thank you. That was very inspiring. But before we start, a warm good morning to fellow panelists, to Gaurav Vallabh ji, panelist Sri Ramchandran ji, Chairman VOC, and all of us. I think I was just telling Manish ji, before we proceed, we certainly need an algo to set things right in Bharat Mandapam about A, punctuality, and B, the chaotic systems in which people come in and get out. A small algo would make things very, very easy, but then sitting on top of an algo is a sensitive human being, who has to be more, as sir said, predictive, reliable, and outcome based. Anyway, nonetheless, in the paucity of time, the tone has been set by Sri Ramchandran. Let me tell you, a port or the maritime industry is extremely complex, and therefore the recognition and awareness of this is not limited to being a transport or a logistics sector only. When you look at the world's contribution, that nearly 85% of the world's trade moves on maritime avenues, and the fact that India's trade is nearly 95% by volume and close to about 70% by value by the maritime industry or the maritime waves, you can recognize as to what is the importance. While the larger contour has been set, where do we bring in? A port and its antecedents are a complex systems of which the overall connecting recognition is either inadequate or is very amenable to introduction to an event like the AI. Let me begin. I have 5 themes on which I say as to how AI could be introduced. But when I was coming to that, I was wondering, when you look at the IMECC on one side, what could it happen when it opens up trade of India to the world and India's aspirations? And 1 or 2 events, such as what happened on the coast of India. Very recently, we had container vessels which kind of toppled because of various reasons of inadequate stowage. They also, because of inadequate prediction about the marine suitability. We've also had events of weather related, where unpredictable weather conditions determine as to how a port would operate. But more importantly, when I was walking in and I was thinking, I looked at the event that happened in Suez Canal and Evergreen, a vessel, which was, it led to something like a few $1 billion of losses to the world and a disruption. So look at the sensitivity. Keeping that in mind, I have 5 themes to speak on. A, how could we get AI into design and planning? I have been thinking, if you look at the Indian ports and a coastline of more than 7,500 containers and the aspiration to build, apart from the 13 major ports, a host of non-major ports and 2 major ports and 2 large ports coming at Vadhavan and Galthia Bay, what is it that we would learn from the predictability and design aspect? If you were to do a digital twin in planning and then conceive a port to be operated thereafter, much of the difficulties in planning a port in terms of precision about berthing, planning, operations behind could be there. So the first introduction is towards design and planning as a blueprint where you could do. Today, much of it is software driven, but we haven't had an AI component to it to bring the predictability which Ramchandran sir spoke about into the design and planning. And also, when I say design and planning, it's not restricted to merely berth planning. It's about a modular scalability. It's about traffic flow alignments. It's about a strategic deployment of how we run the resources over there. The second aspect that I would look at is the operational impact. When I look at an operational impact, we talked about just in time, dynamic yard logics. You know, the way that we are going to coordinate a vessel, its arrival. We have, for example, Maersk has developed something called a Captain Peter, where you have an autonomous captain getting into a port, making judgments which otherwise would be subject to human error. Now, what is AI basically doing? It's crunching a lot of data and bringing that data and predicting as to how we could have more predictable, safer parts of navigation. Once we have berthed a vessel, and then the traffic flow behind about throughput maximization, resource allocations between a vessel, between the trains, between the ITV movement, between manpower, between yards and between warehouses. Now, this looks very, very complex, but you'll be surprised as the integration of it does not have even a proper software tool. We have at best some kind of software for a particular terminal. When you're going a multi-terminal and a whole port integration, you need a layer. The layer which Ramchandranji spoke about, a layer which is first on that particular layer, you build is to what is the tool of integration and an algorithmic governance tool which will then be able to use the data and be future ready, which was spoken of. My third part is about safety enhancement and risk management. You would be shocked and surprised to see the kind of safety events that take place in the ports and how quite a bit of unsafe working due to lack of predictive and unawareness of the risk. So risk assessments and building the risk assessment into planning of the port is something which is very, very amenable to AI and to develop proper algorithms around it. And the human machine and vessel interaction is something, again, I'm sure we have, Manish Tiwari ji, who's with JM Baxi, and I've had, we've been in some forums together. He will tell you as to how, as the CTO, he's driving these, combinations at individual ports to happen. Of course, it will also mean about each data we are having and how we are going to have sovereign data protections when we are also developing risk managements in our things. My fourth aspect is about quality assurance and improvements. Now, as much as since quality assurance and customer interfacing, we've been thinking of developing what is called a virtual concierge, where we have every part of coming in. We were talking about documentation. A virtual concierge brings in all interactions on a platform which are not human-based, and this is not about replacing human beings, but having a particular tool where we bring in the multiplicities of interactions, vessels, agents, transporters, multiple stakeholders that we have. I think this is one of the sectors which is very, very, very amenable for a composite development and bringing. I will pause over here and I will talk about my last aspect about customer interfacing, but I would leave thoughts on that and into certain global experiences we have that we borrow. We have global experience at the Port of Rotterdam, where we use AI for reducing ship waiting times by nearly 20%. Port of Singapore, in our recent closed thing, Maritime single window, which we wish to develop in the Adani ports that we're looking at, which will mean that we have vessel calls which are determined by a certain algorithm and not individually taken decisions. I did talk about the Suez Canal event, where about more than 430 vessels were affected. If you could have a little bit of, as when Ramchandran sir began, he said waves. And even when you look at the waves of innovation that has come to the world, the first wave coming at 1845 and the sixth wave that we're experiencing with post-COVID, this wave of innovation which is embracing the world today is telling us as to how unpredictable events could now be predicted. So when I look at the Suez Canal event, which I keep coming back to, 430 vessels got affected because the judgment on how, it's a regulated canal, the judgment on how some aspects of wave can affect safety is something which AI would tremendously help. So when you're looking at safe navigation, safe berthing, safe operation of ports, AI is a tool that we have to adopt, but it does require this particular digital integration that has been spoken. I'll pause here because of paucity time and other events. I'll wait for the speakers. If there are questions, we take it. Thank you so much.
I request Manish Jaiswalji from GM Baxi Port to come in, and he wants to speak about the compliances around this whole area.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Subratji. You have covered most of the points which I was going to talk about. So we can save some time here. But when I was being invited for this event, Tiwari ji spoke to me and he said, Manish, you are a chief technology officer. You already know about this technology. Tiwari ji, I am as new as everyone else because this is a wave which it has hit the technology professionals also. So AI as such is a wave which has hit all of us. Most of us have been exposed to AI through very small tools like ChatGPT. Everyone would have used ChatGPT and Gemini and such tools. Our exposure, direct exposure to AI has been through tools like ChatGPT, which is generative AI. But unknowingly to us, people like the Amazons of this world, Netflixes of this world, have been using AI algorithms for many years. And we have not realized that they have been using AI algorithms. Now, ports have been adopting AI in a lot of automation areas, but there are a whole lot of areas where there is scope for using AI. The word port is derived from the Latin word portus, which means gateway. The port is a gateway to commerce, and anything which goes wrong in a port will get affected directly or indirectly if it is not done correctly. And that's where AI comes in. Right from planning stages, which Mr. Subrat briefly touched upon, how do I plan arrival of vessels? How do I plan arrival of containers, trucks, cargo? How do I store it? That's one aspect of AI where optimizing the resources which are available can help. The second aspect is behavioral safety, the ESG aspect. Most ports are having a lot of human beings, a lot of manpower which is working, and human beings inherently do unsafe behaviors. If we are able to use AI, and JM Bakshi is using AI, using video analytics is able to predict what are the likely areas where safety related incidents may happen. So that's the second area. The third area is fraud detection. A lot of port paperwork happens through documents, a lot of documentation is there. AI has a very small but very impactful implementation which is for detecting frauds. Now most of the times we don't realize that there are maker-checker combinations, there are frauds which are possible. AI can help detect frauds. It can also help detect sources of cargo from either restricted countries or movement of such cargo or payments from such sources. So AI has a role in fraud detections, in helping us identify compliances, whether it is internal compliances or external compliances. The fourth aspect, as more automation happens in the industry, cranes get automized, AGVs get automized. Please remember that there is a risk of cyber hackers getting into automation and be preventing that automation to get through. So that's the fourth aspect where AI can create a layer over the existing cybersecurity infrastructure and help fix or prevent cyber incidents from happening. Now, most of us have been talking about predictive AI, which to a large extent is successful. My final point is that going forward, predictive AI will turn into prescriptive AI, where AI will also prescribe what is the solution. It will not just tell what is going to happen, but should also be able to prescribe what is the solution to fix what is going to happen. So that's the stage we are going into, enter into over the next 2 years. That's my submission. I've been told that 3 minutes have run out. Thank you, everyone.
Manish ji to, I would say, comply with the timeline. Thank you so much. Aparajita, can I ask you to please come and, shed some light about the legal aspect of whatever is happening and how we get into it, please.
Thank you so much. I think I'm thankful that Manish ji made the point regarding moving from predictive to actually taking deterministic decisions when it comes to AI deployment. So we all know that, there were a lot of facts shared by my other co-panelists about how material port infrastructure and maritime development activities are in India. Given the fact that 95% of our trade is taken place through the maritime corridor, it's not a surprise that the government has notified this as a core infrastructure medium for India. Now, naturally, any kind of industry that's notified as a core infrastructure technology, it becomes very important if there is discussion in the industry from making it move from assisted and predictive AI to something which is more autonomous in nature. So I know that there is a lot of interest in making port infrastructure, port industry becoming more deterministic and actually taking decisions that perhaps human beings would have taken in the past. But given its importance and given its critical, I think presence in the Indian market as well as globally, and the multiple entities that are usually involved in any kind of port infrastructure project, there are multiple challenges that come up in the Indian domain. So, for instance, currently, you would take a decision about, let's say, logging certain, decision making regarding some berthing and things like that. You would take a decision with a human being. Now, everybody in the AI industry, the viewpoint always has been that any kind of work, your AI is actually as good as your data. So we can assume that given the number of years for which the AI industry, the port industry has been in existence, there is naturally a lot of data that is available today based on which AI can train itself. Now, whether that data is actually consolidated in a reliable manner, do you actually have data which is available with the port operator, which is available with the OEMs who are working with them, which is available with the technology deployers? Is all of this really aggregated in a consistent and a reliable manner? Because if it is not, if you're using autonomous AI technology to take decisions based on that data, then obviously the reliability becomes a big question mark. In addition to that, let's say you start deploying AI for taking decisions that ordinarily earlier were taken by human beings. Now the issue obviously becomes about attribution and liability. Because usually in a port, any kind of porting transaction, you have multiple agencies that are involved. Now today, if I'm a port operator and I deploy an AI model, I deploy, let's say, an open source model. But I don't know from my technology vendor as to what are the limitations of that model. I don't know what kind of hallucination that model does. I also am not being informed about any kind of governance mechanism that I have to implement when I'm deploying this model onto my industry. Now, naturally, if you don't have a good lawyer supporting you, in those kind of contracts, the technology vendor will make sure that they have a lot of exclusions and indemnities and protections, etc., wherein they are very much protected in case there is a liability issue. And of course, in this kind of industry, just like any other which is critical, the liability will be economic, it could be reputational, it could be life, and it could be something even cross-country and diplomatic and those kind of risk exposures. Now, for a port authority, which is a port operator, which is implementing AI in an autonomous manner, the main concern for them needs to be that how much am I protected vis-a-vis the technology vendors that I'm working with. Because if you don't have awareness of the risk of that AI tech, if you don't have a system wherein how is the AI being deployed, there is no audit mechanism that is taking place, you don't have an ability to understand that how do I explain that this defect actually took place. Because currently when human beings take decisions, there is a lot of collaboration and there is a lot of dynamism when you take decisions like that, especially when it's very high range and it's very complex and sensitive in nature. But AI is usually trained on situations that it has actually seen in practice, with human beings like us have seen in practice, and they take the best course of action in that particular situation. So obviously if you're dealing with an industry where there are a lot of unanticipated scenarios, you can imagine that an AI could take decisions which somehow don't even actually make sense, and they don't have an explainability allocated to it. And in India, given that we don't have an Indian AI law, we don't have a lot of clarity wherein if there is any sort of liability, any kind of incident that occurs, how do you actually attribute liability in that kind of situation? And of course, if you're not protected contractually, then most of the liability will fall on the port operator. But yes, for litigants, for an entity that's actually suing a port operator, for somebody like me perhaps who may be impacted, as a result of some, environmental disaster, for example, because of port operator activities, the issue will be that how will you actually establish causation? And that, I think, is an issue under Indian law till the time we don't have an AI law in place. Because in any litigation scenario, unless and until I can allocate that you are responsible and this is the actual incident that led to this disaster, you can't you face a lot of challenge in allocating any kind of liability. So I think going forward, what we really need to promote in the industry is having some sort of AI governance mechanism, because this is not one of those sectors where it's a good to have. You actually need to have some governance standards about how is it that you're going to deploy AI, to what extent, to what kind of functionalities for which you'll make AI autonomous, and what should be the auditing standard, what should be the explainability standard, what kind of testing are you going to do, and what kind of data sharing that's going to occur between the various entities that are involved. And after that, once we have a reasonably robust governance mechanism, we would need to worry about, there would be litigation in this place, because as in more autonomous, decisions are being taken in the sector, you will see, I guess, the risk of doing that. Because, everybody says that whenever you start deploying AI in any sector, one needs to see that for that particular sector, whether the harm outweighs the gains or vice versa. Because, I personally as a lawyer believe that it's not possible to deploy AI onto every industry. It's a very unique and nuanced decision, and it has to be done depending on how relevant or useful it is for that industry. I've been told I've run out of time. So.
Thank you so much. I now request Gauravji to please come and let us know that we have talked about technology and its like operations, but the major thing is economy, and I would request sir to kind of focus on that, please. Thank you.
Respected speakers, ladies and gentlemen, already the watch is showing time is out and I am the last person, but will not take more than 4 minutes. That is my promise to all of you. AI powered ports. I understand that as a Atmanirbhar India powered for Viksit Bharat 2047, and how it is going to work. I will give you 8 points, and each point I will take 30 seconds. That is the agenda for my speech. 95% of total volumes which we are trading is by Maritime, but the fact is that in spite of annual growth of 13.5%, our ports are not comparable to the biggest ports of the world as far as the handling capacity is concerned. So gap is both of infrastructure as well as intelligence. And here I will talk about 8 AIs which we have to work on. The first AI is about the available infrastructure. Major ports in our country handles 855 million tons in FY25, that is financial year 25, but still average capacity utilization is around 50%. So available infrastructure is there. Another second AI is assessment index. The dwelling time or vessel turnaround time or crane productivity are not matched with the best of the class in the industry. Like the dwelling time is 2.5 times on an average, vessel turnaround time is twice, the crane productivity is half. So we have to work on this assessment index. The third AI is actual impediments. When I say actual impediments, the much more is said about this, about the documentation and process delay. The madam had reflected on this. The dwelling time crisis, the infrastructure constraints, the equipment and automation gaps, and the digital or data silos, which was reflected by Mr. Ramchandran and my friend. So there is a actual impediments is there as far as this industry is concerned. That is third AI. The fourth AI is authentic integration, and much more is conveyed like predictive maintenance, intelligent berth scheduling, automated container handling, optimal character recognition, and digital twins. So a real-time virtual replica of port operations are required. The fifth AI is automated initiatives which we took in the form of port community service, unified logistic, Sagar Setu, achieving maritime vision. The sixth AI is actual investment we had in the form of Sagarmala, national logistic policy, like the logistic index ranking. We are aiming to be in top 25 nations by 2030, and the PPP investments which are happening in the major ports. The seventh AI is avenues in India, that is in the form of new port, which is in the form of Vizhinjam port, Vadhavan port, Greater Nicobar International Container Transshipment Port. The last AI about the accelerated initiatives, and I will say there are three: immediate, moderate, and long term. Immediate, we have to scale up the automated gates, truck maintenance system, and predictive maintenance pilots. Medium terms, digital twins, AI driven berth, AGU fleet expense, and the long term, fully automated terminals, national port digital twins, autonomous vessel support, and the use of hydrogen as a fuel. Now I will conclude that the question is not whether AI will transform India's port. Question is that whether we are going to lead it or not. With the current 7.97% of GDP, that is the logistic cost, we are competitive, but for Viksit Bharat 2047 aim, our port should be intelligent and should have intelligent ecosystem. So I will give you 4 statements as a takeaways from my deliberation. Gap is real but closing. AI is not about futuristic, it is right now. And infrastructure and intelligence should be together from day one. We require executive of policy which needs acceleration, and as Manishji pointed out about the economic implication of this, there is a approximate saving if by usage of AI of 20,000 crore in our handling, and every year we can save 15,000 crore as far as the logistic cost is concerned. So AI is right now in front of us. It is up to us. We have to accept it. Thank you very much for all this patience.
I sincerely apologize to the next panel. We are just closing it. I just request Rajesh ji to say 2 words of thank you, and we have a photo and we are leaving. Thank you so much. Sir, after this, we can have it from,
we cannot take questions. They are already waiting.
They are delayed. We were supposed to start at 10:30. We started at 11 o'clock.
They both were from same organization. They delayed it.
No, whatever it is. But
Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen,
But
it's
we
my
can take questions outside.
it's my pleasure and privilege to thank our esteemed panelists for the day, who need no introduction among all the stakeholders in the ports and shipping family. And thanks to all the esteemed panelists and their valuable insights for setting a robust narrative for all of us, and charting a course to sail towards the AI journey what we are all about to undertake together. And on behalf of the chairperson and the entire VOCPA, I thank all the panelists and also for our moderator for the day for making a very valuable and great session today in this IndiaAI Impact Summit. Thank you and Jai Hind.